Welcome to section 6. In this one we're going to be learning about functions in C++. We just spent a lot of time learning about different data types that allow us to group values under a single variable name. What we're learning about now in functions is how to group a variety of different instructions together under a single function name. The nice thing is that every time I call the function, that allows me to run those exact same lines of code again. So by the time we finish with this particular section, you should be able to summarize and implement functions and how to declare them and use them, how to pass parameters and capture return values, and we're also going to learn about default parameter values. You want to be able to differentiate between parameters and arguments, as well as passing values or passing parameters by reference or by value, and then finally be able to overload functions. So let's take a look at some of the characteristics of functions. All functions has two basic characteristics. The first one is whether or not I have to pass anything to it. The second one is whether or not it returns anything to me. We're also going to find out that there are three things in C++ that are needed for a function. The first one is a declaration. The declaration is the method signature, the function signature, that generally would become, or that would be displayed above main, because main has to know about it or it will not be able to run it. So the next one is the definition. Definitions generally would occur below main, and this is where you list out all of the logic and the instructions that that function is supposed to do. And then finally, you have to call it inside of main or inside of some other functions. Now, if you'd like to define the functions above main, then it's not necessary to have the declaration, but in C++, main has to know about it either through a declaration or a definition before it can run it in main. So let's look at these two characteristics. The first one is parameters. Do I have to pass anything to it or not? Here's an example of a function declaration that would go above main, where I'm going to use a void and then give the function a name with the empty parentheses. That definition might look something like this: void, and then the function name with the empty parentheses. We always need our braces, and the logic would go inside of that. Now, definitions would traditionally go after main, and then this is what the function call would look like. I'm just going to call it by name with the empty parentheses. I don't have to use the keyword void again. So this has no parameters. The parentheses are empty. If I want, and this is an example of what some of those declarations might look like above main. All right, so here's an example of function declarations that are passing parameters. So once again, we're going to use the keyword main. I'm going to give my function a name, and then inside of the parentheses, I'm going to give it a comma-separated list of data types, or for more clarity, I can give it a comma-separated list of parameters with each parameter data type. Notice, obviously, the parameters can have different data types. So this is what the definitions might look like. I'm going to use the void keyword again with some kind of a function name, and then the comma-separated list of parameters, and then this is what a call might look like. Once again, we just call it by name, and I'm going to pass within those parentheses the required arguments, the required data type, and the required number of arguments. So here's an example of what some of those declarations might look like above main. We're going to use the void keyword with the name of my function and some comma-separated parameters. All right, so how about if we try this out? We're going to create some functions that have parameters.